This is the triumphant story of Spirit and Opportunity, two rovers that survived the ordeal of landing on Mars.
1, mark.
The journeys to Mars for Spirit and Opportunity would take 7 months, crossing a distance of some 300 million miles. This cruise portion of a planetary mission can be a relatively quiet time, but not for these two spacecraft.
Currently Mach 16.6, altitude of 30.
While navigators plotted trajectories, the flight team practiced the complex landing sequences that are called EDL, short for entry, descent, and landing, but also known as 6 minutes of terror. EDL is the most complicated and dangerous part of any mission trying to reach the Martian surface. In a matter of minutes, multiple spacecraft transformations have to take place. It begins with separating from the cruise stage. Next, the rover, enclosed in a capsule, hits the atmosphere at 12,000 miles per hour. 4 minutes later, the speed has been reduced to 1,000 miles per hour, slow enough for a supersonic parachute to deploy without shredding. Then the heat shield jettisons, and the lander begins rappelling down a metal tape and a rope bridle. Meanwhile, a computer is calculating information about motion and altitude. Only seconds remain before the airbags inflate, the rockets fire, the metal tape and bridle rope are cut, and the lander free falls to the surface. The first bounce could be as high as a 4-story building, followed by more bounces that could go on for half a mile before the lander, with the rover tightly wrapped inside, comes to a rest. Hopefully, in one piece. Another unexpected event, but one all too real, occurred 68 days before the first rover landing. It was the day the sun erupted. It was the third most powerful solar storm ever recorded. When this massive solar flare reached the Earth, communications networks were disrupted. Airlines diverted their routes, Earth-orbiting satellites temporarily went dark, and astronauts aboard the space station sought emergency shelter.
And this huge amount of material, bigger than the sun itself, went flying off of the sun out towards the planets, out towards Earth, out towards Mars, and out towards our spacecraft.
When the solar flare reached the two spacecraft, their star sensors, essential for navigation, began seeing flashes that they mistook for stars. The two spacecraft were all but blinded by the flare. Fortunately, there was no major damage, and the star sensors eventually came back online. But nature wasn't done with surprises. In December, as the first landing day drew near, dust storms began blowing up on Mars, and that was a cause for alarm. Dust causes the Martian atmosphere to warm and thin. That meant the parachute would move through the atmosphere at a faster speed, resulting in less time for slowing down. To counter this condition, Spirit's parachute was reprogrammed to open 2 seconds earlier in hopes of gaining back lost time. Meanwhile, other team members were continuously running computer simulations of EDL, trying out different parameters to see what might occur.
Yeah, so that's what you're looking for?
Yeah. Much to our surprise, after months and months and months of successful round-the-clock testing, we finally find that there's some failures that are occurring. We said, well, is it fluke? What's going on? What we've discovered is that the software is trying to turn on timers that countdown to firing pyrotechnic events. So a pyrotechnic event is an event that, say, opens up the parachute or inflates the airbags or fires the rocket. All those things are controlled by pyrotechnic devices and little timers that the software can control. We're finding that the software wasn't getting around to doing it. And there was a problem between the hardware and software that we did not know about until just 2 days before landing. And in which case we'll have a failure, guaranteed failure.
There was still more bad news coming from Mars. On Christmas Day, Britain's Beagle 2 lander entered the Martian atmosphere and was never heard from again. A few days later, as 2003 was ending, the Japanese Space Agency announced that its Mars mission had failed to go into orbit. Of the fleet that left for Mars that year, only the European Space Agency's Mars Express orbiter had so far survived its arrival. And now, it was the rover's turn. A year before, the Space Shuttle Columbia had disintegrated during re-entry, killing all 7 crew members. The landing of Spirit was the first major NASA event since that tragedy.
Copy that.
I worry that we've missed something. I worry about the thing not yet found. If it turns out that you've done something stupid, there's no forgiveness.
Cruise state separation on my mark. 4, 3, 2, 1. And flight ace, we have subcarrier out of lock on both 70 meters.
Jettisoning the cruise stage. Wow, the cruise stage is gone, and now we're just this ballistic thing entering the atmosphere, and the accelerations that we're getting reported back. Wow, we're really 12,000 miles an hour going into the atmosphere.
Flight.
Go EOCom.
We see Cartone 1 and Cartone 2.
In every key activity that was going on, we got these signals that they were actually going right.
All systems are go for entry, descent, and landing. And on behalf of the entry, descent, and landing team, it's been a pleasure having you guys on board. Best wishes for a successful science mission. This time, we'd like to invite you to sit back and enjoy the landing.
Place your tray tables in an upright launch position.
We have just passed 1 minute to atmospheric entry, current altitude 121 miles, current velocity 12,084 miles per hour.
Flight detector flight tone 5, acceleration tone number 5, we're coming back down again.
Copy that. Expected parachute deploy in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark.
There it is.
At this time, we expect the vehicle has gone subsonic.
Parachute was detected.
Flight nav. Go nav.
The one-way Doppler has stopped being received, indicating that the BVR is lost lock, which is consistent with parachute deploy having occurred a little bit later than the predicted parachute deploy time.
Copy that.
Heat shield deployed event.
Spacecraft reporting that heat shield has indeed jettisoned.
Lander separation event has been detected.
Reporting lander is separated. We expect that radar will lock on the ground in approximately 5 seconds from now. We are near our terminal velocity.
We have resolution 17. That is confirmation of radar in lock.
Spacecraft reporting that the radar is in lock and we have a good solution on the ground.
Radar is working.
Expected retro rocket ignition on my mark. At this point in time, we should be on the ground. We are now roughly 10 seconds from the latest expected landing time. There is a dispersion in landing time of plus or minus 30 seconds. So roughly any signal that we receive from now indicates the vehicle would be alive, on the ground, and bouncing. Stand by. Still awaiting signal that we are on the ground.
We got 6 signs of bouncing on the surface.
We got a ring on the surface. The signal indicates we are bouncing on the surface of Mars. This is a very good sign.
Hang on, everybody. Please be quiet.
Stand by.
We don't see a signal at the moment. No signal at the moment.
We saw an intermittent signal that indicated we were bouncing. However, we currently do not have signal from the spacecraft. Remember that bouncing and rolling is an event that it could occur for another 10 minutes. The spacecraft has to survive all the bounces for landing to be a success. This time we're approximately 10 minutes after landing. The vehicle should have rolled to a stop by now. The Deep Space Network stations at Goldstone and Canberra are still searching for the signal. The fact that a tone has not yet been received is not necessarily cause for alarm, as during the bouncing and rolling event, it is extremely difficult to send signals back to Earth.
Look at that. It's stuff we had before. No, 3,900.
Rad ignition was at 3911.
All right, so it's like we got.
That was absolute agony. In fact, I was getting quite angry and frustrated with myself because I started thinking that maybe this thing had failed. And that maybe all this work was just a waste.
The Deep Space Network stations at Goldstone and Canberra are still searching for the signal.
We see it. There it is.
There's time now to breathe again and to engage in some reflection before Spirit's signals can again be heard.
I woke up this morning and I said to myself, when I wake up tomorrow on Sunday, the world will be different. And it really, really is. It's completely different. This is a tremendous day. And we've got many more steps to go before this mission is completely over, but we've retired an awful lot of risk with this landing. And we've got a good system, and we're alive on the surface, and that gives us real good hope, a harbinger of things to come, that we're going to be very, very successful here.